Hello and welcome everybody to this new webinar of the HelloID March release. In this video we're going to discuss a new functionality that we have in HelloID since the latest release. So it was yesterday, it was a little bit delayed this time. And we're not going to show the full details of all the features that we have, but only the ones that we released in this release. As always, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you will not miss a webinar. And you will get updates also of other release videos or documentation videos and things like that. We do a lot with our YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, of course, and I will try to answer them as fast as possible. But I want to say, let's start with the functionality that we have. So the first functionality is for service automation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as an administrator. And I'm going to the admin portal. And the same feature is in multiple places inside the product, but one of them is in, let's say, delegated forms. And if I edit this form as an example, I can go to my tasks and we have the code snippet library here. And this was already available, but if I click on the code snippet library, I will see all the snippets that I have available for the task of a delegated form. So things like create a group, grant a membership to a user to a group, the other way around, or create a user, of course, things like that. And those are for multiple systems. So it could be for Active Directory, it could be for Azure, it could be for Google. The library is growing. So what we have here is that we can filter on topics. So I can click here on the topic. And as you can see, I have here Active Directory as a topic, or Jira, or SMTP, or Topdesk. And I can just click on it. Let's say I want to have an email code snippet library. So I can here send an email message using HelloID as a code snippet, or send email message using SMTP if it's a local machine. So I would expect if I click on this and I say the README that a prerequisite is that you use an agent, because else it's difficult to use an SMTP server, of course. But it uses the send mail message, things like that. So it all works here, and you can also see the topics here. So you can see it's email and SMTP as a topic. And of course I can go back and filter again on a different topic, or I can filter on multiple topics. So I can do email and SMTP. And it's an OR relation, so it will show both. It's not an AND. Like I mentioned, this filtering for the topics, you have this on multiple locations. So it's also on self-service data sources, and let me show, it's a PowerShell data source, and if I go to data source configuration, I have the same code snippet here, and again I have topics, and it's also in the product actions the same. So again, here I have a list of all the data sources, so that means getting all the users, or getting all the groups, or all the memberships of a group, things like that, to show in the form. It's a data source that shows information on the form. And again, I can have topics here where I can filter on. And those topics are also in our GitHub library. So we declare them, and it makes it easier to search for certain parts of code. And of course, you can search within the topic. So you can search within Topdesk. It's not that much, but let's say an operator, I will find within the topic as normally. For service automation, we also made a small change in the API, but please read the release notes for that. I'm not going to show that. It's also a small change, but it could have a huge impact, of course, if you want to do something automatically using the API. So that's it for service automation. I know there are I'm pretty busy with some big new functionality for the next release or for the upcoming releases. So that's why currently this release has a smaller new feature, but it's really nice new feature. Let's switch over to provisioning. So let's log into provisioning, and what I have in provisioning is a new functionality where I can import data from Active Directory to HelloID using entitlements. And it's a big feature, so I want to show you how it works and how you can use it in a use case. But first off, I have to tell you that this feature is mostly used before you go live with HelloID. So let's say you have an empty tenant, a provisioning tenant, you have a already working Active Directory, and in most of the situations you want to import the data from Active Directory inside HelloID so that HelloID doesn't do that many actions. How it works is already have configured a target system, which is called the Microsoft Active Directory, which is an Active Directory on-premise system. This feature is only available for the Microsoft Active Directory on-premise system currently. We want to make this feature available, of course, for also the PowerShell and the Azure in the future, but for now our focus is on the Microsoft Active Directory. So what I need before I can do all this is I have to, of course, configure my fields. So I will need a field mapping. And another important part is correlation. So I have to enable correlation, and I have to set a person field and a account field. And these values in the person field and the account field should match. Else the feature doesn't work. It's also it works a little bit like the correlation report, but it does some stuff differently. So some parts will be familiar for you guys, but some parts are particularly new. So if you already have set this up, so with correlation and fields, we have a new implementation. So you create a Active Directory target system. Maybe you test some creation of accounts if it works correctly. And then you think, okay, I want to set it up. I want to go live with a couple of accounts. So what we currently have is if I go to my business and I go to entitlements, we have a new option here, which is called import. And if I click on it, I can select system, and you can only select systems of the type Microsoft Active Directory on-premise, of course. And if you can see here, I have two systems. So I prepared this one. So I set it up, and already there's a warning message. And it warns me that accounts for the systems are not managed by any published rule. So no states can be imported. So that means is for the system, no account entitlements is added to the rules, and especially to a published rule. So before I continue, I have to do that. So I'm going to the rules. I will show later on what you can do with this. But I want to add, let's say, the Microsoft Active Directory. I want to add the account to everybody that's active 14 days before and 90 days after the contract is valid. So let's publish it. And for the active period, I'm going to add account access. This is a pretty default setup, of course. So everybody that is active will get account access permissions. And if it's 14 days before and 90 days after, you will get an account, a disabled account. So if I go back to the report now, you will see the messages, the warning is gone. So what I can do now is import this Active Directory system. So I can click on this, and it will get all the data from Active Directory pretty fast, as you can see. And in this instance, it's imported 144 accounts. It's not that much, of course, but we just support a lot more accounts, of course. And you can see here what the account correlation field is and the person correlation field is. But I don't see anything yet. Normally, I would suggest to run a new evaluation. I will come up why we need to do that in a minute. And I can create a report. And what I'm seeing here is somewhat the same results as a correlation report. I can see here that the person Abel Wolterbeek, we found an account in Active Directory based on the correlation fields, so the values of the correlation field. So the employee ID of Abel Wolterbeek is the same as his account. And I can see here the display name and the SAM account name of that Active Directory account. Besides, if it has an account, I can also see if it has access. So if the account is enabled, yes or no. And you can all see that here, so it's a big list. But as you can see here, you can also see that a couple of persons don't have an account. So we cannot find an account for these persons. And that could be an issue, that couldn't be an issue. That's something, of course, you guys know that this person should have an account in Active Directory. If that is the case, probably the key for call ropers is not correctly in set in Active Directory. So what you could do then is change the key, search for call ropers in this case in Active Directory. Check the call ropers key and change it in Active Directory, and you can do another import. And then it will show the account, of course. To make it easier, we have filters, so you can say here, I don't want all the not correlated fields, so you can see all the persons that are not correlated. So these are the ones that we couldn't find an account for in Active Directory. There's also another exception, and that's the one you see here. And that's a warning, because for this person, I found 2 accounts. So with the same correlation value, we see 2 accounts in Active Directory, and yeah, we cannot determine which one to pick. So you have to go back to Active Directory and change the value of, in this case, the employee ID from Stella S to something else to link the correct Active Directory account. Thus far, it's pretty the same as the correlation stuff. Also, of course, I can see all the correlated accounts and check if this is correct. I can also export them if I want to see them in CSV and search in them to stuff with them. That's not a problem. You can do that. But the main difference is now I can import them. But before I do this, this is this 138. Maybe that's doable for a lot of persons, but to do all the active persons at once is pretty difficult. And that is the reason why our persons are scoped based on the business rule, and the reason why you run evaluation. And I can show you guys how that works. So if I go back to my rules and I say I want to start a little bit smaller. So I want to only start with, let's say, the 36 people of the department ICT. So let's add the account here. Let's do account access as well. Publish it. And then I'm going to remove the entitlement from the other place. This one. And this one. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong one. This one. No. This one. Sorry. So I remove them, and if I go back again to the report and I run an evaluation again and run a create report again, you will see now the persons are scoped in all the persons in ICT In this case, there are 34. There could be a difference, of course, between what you saw with the 36 and the 34, because the 36 was an evaluation run before it, so it was not actual live data. So with this we found, my filter is on. 34 people that have an account and 2 people that don't have an account, so are not correlated. You can see it here in the summary. So with this you can change the scoping in which you search for. So as an example, you can start with all the active persons in the department or multiple departments or something like that, and make it bigger over time, so it's easier for you guys to search and maybe extract it to a CSV and maybe send it to I don't know, the manager of the department that knows it, or maybe a security officer or something like that. That can help you with correlation between the person and accounts. So it's easier to make it live, because you can do it in subsections instead of the correlation report where you see everything always. You cannot filter it, things like that. Yeah, you can search on a person, but that's it. So you have more options here. Another thing, which is a big advantage, is we can import the entitlements. So that means I will not do it yet, but if I go to my evaluation, and I will do an evaluation now, it should create a lot of accounts for me, and I think it will be 36 accounts. So let me only see, the create account actions, it will be 36. But of course a lot of people already have a account, right? And if I run this, it will be correlated when there's an action, but actually I want to see beforehand that only the real accounts that are created. So what I can do now is, if I go back to my report and I say, okay, I want to import it, import the entitlements, you will see all the people that are correlated to an account will be gone. And if I go back to the granted entitlements, you will see that all those people are granted an account. And even if I go back to my evaluation, I would expect that only 2 create actions will be started. And if you can see, I can do a grant. You'll see only 2 people will create. Only for 2 people an account is created. One side mark. We still start the update action for those people that are imported. So you will see that here. If I enable also the update, you will see here that an update action is triggered, because you want to have the new mapping, of course, for the person that's already inside Active Directory. So you want the correct title, the correct department, maybe a better email address, something like that. You want that, of course, on your account. So an update is started. But you also see there's different origin, and this means is the entitlement is imported inside the system, but we still do an update. But it's pretty easy to see that, okay, only for these people, for these 2 people, an account is created. And of course that also gives me the opportunity to check again, is David Brouwer in this case not already in Active Directory or Selma Boss? And if so, I can change it again in Active Directory, change the correlation value. I can go back to the import. I can import Active Directory. It's limited by a single time per hour, so I cannot start it again. But I have to wait an hour, because it's a pretty big step for some customers, or a lot of data, of course, that's coming in. And I can run evaluation and create a report again, and then it could be that those people are correlated, and then I can import again. Just as I can now go to rules and I can change again. Let's say I want to make it bigger this time, because the import was successful the last time. I say, okay, account is now on the business rule for all the active persons. And account access as well. go back to the entitlements, import, run evaluation. And because the rules are changed, I need to run an evaluation and create a report. And then I can continue with importing all these people's Active Directory account. So if I do import entitlements now, 104 account entitlements will be imported. With half of them will have the account access entitlement. So everything is scoped and based on the rules that you set. So it's pretty easy to scope this report based on the business rules, which is pretty awesome, I think. So now I've imported it. So if I go back to the granted entitlements, you will see for all those people, a entitlement is granted. I think also in the logging, you will see a grant, and that is created. Also in the system logging, you can see that, let me go to there. We see a managed account, so that's new. So it's not created, but it's managed by us. So it means it already existed, but now it's managed by HelloID. So there's also a different audit log record where you can see that an account is managed or when it's unmanaged and things like that. So that really helps. And another thing which is also important, that if a person is imported and it has an account, let me quickly check if there's a, Alderic, I know this one. And normally when we create an account, you can also send data back and store it in the person.account's system name. But of course you don't do a create action. So if you do an import entitlement, we look at the fields that are configured for the store export data, and we also get the data from Active Directory to there and we store it. So in this case, if I go to the mapping, I would expect that the common name, semicolon name, and the user principal name are mapped for the person in the create action. And if I go look at it, I see the SAM account name and the user principal name as example. I think here is the mail attribute, and I think that one is the common name. We import that as well, so that's pretty easy. So if you have a dependent system based on that record, it still continues and it works correctly. I think that is most of the functionality. Let me check if there are any questions. No, there aren't any questions. So please keep in mind that it's important that you do this right from the start. It isn't required because you can do it later, of course, but it will really help you to determine what is really created by HelloID and new accounts that are created by HelloID. If you do it like this and import all the information from Active Directory as an entitlement inside HelloID. And you can do it scoped, of course, and that makes it, I think, easier to determine if the correlation key is correct and if the values are correct set in Active Directory. You cannot do it through the user interface in HelloID, so you have to manually change that in Active Directory. But in most cases, I think it's a bulk update, so you don't want to do all of the accounts manually because it's a lot of work. But this will really help you set up HelloID and use your current data in Active Directory to have a better management in HelloID and see what HelloID is really doing inside your network for Active Directory. And of course, in the future, we want this functionality also for other systems. So So we want to support that as well. So it's easier to also import a PowerShell system or go live with the PowerShell system. But for now, it's only for Active Directory. And also, this is a little step up towards reconciliation, which is our next goal, where we also need the data from Active Directory. So this is a nice benefit to import the data. There are no other questions left, I think. Then I would like to thank you. So thanks for listening to this webinar. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you will get notified when a webinar starts or a new release video is released, or other videos that we supply. Thank you for your attention, and till the next time.